This is Optimal Work Daily, episode 1418, How to Discover Your Superpowers by Karl Staib of digtofly.com. And I'm Dan, and I am your host and narrator here at OWD, the show that is all about improving your work life and productivity. So let's get right to it now as we hear from Karl and optimize your life. How to Discover Your Superpowers by Karl Staib of digtofly.com. A lot of people have been asking me, what exactly is a superpower? And it's time I gave you an answer. So over the past couple months, I've talked a lot about developing your superpowers, but I never explained how to figure out what your superpowers are in the first place. The best way for me to do this is to start by asking you a few questions. First, what do people come to you for? The thing that people approach you about the most is a superpower. People love coming to you for this thing because they know you will do an amazing job. The most important aspect, though, is that you enjoy helping people with this thing. Career superpowers are actions that come easily to you, are fun, and you can do them for hours on end. As you build your career, you probably will become more in tune with what your superpowers are. If you don't, you will miss out on the opportunity to create leverage. Before you can understand what your superpowers are, you have to understand your own mindset. Do you appreciate every moment like it's your last? Being grateful every single day will help you live longer and build a more resilient mindset. Your superpowers depend on three factors: passion, focus, and strengths. Without all of these factors, you will have a missing power to leverage your success. I had a friend who was an amazing writer. I floundered in college while he excelled. My friend could write about submarines, water polo, and weather patterns and make each paper fascinating. The only problem was that he didn't care. He had great skill and focus, but no passion. After he completed each article, he experienced no excitement and no happiness. He just moved on to the next thing on his list. I consider writing to be a superpower of mine now because it fell into all three areas. I had the passion, focus, and strength to make my writing interesting. I'm going to compare two skills that I have, writing and editing, and explain why one is a superpower and one is just a skill. Passion. The intrinsic motivation behind your actions is passion. If you find yourself constantly forcing yourself to take action, then this isn't passion. I love to write, and the process comes easily. I actually need to write in order to get the thoughts out instead of spinning around in my head. It's a therapeutic action that became a daily habit. On the other hand, I have difficulty editing because by that point, the creation process is already over for me, and I want to move on to the next idea. You've probably noticed how certain work just won't motivate you for very long. You may be passionate about it for a few hours or days, but eventually the energy wanes and you're back to doing things that bring you happiness. Focus. The amount of time you spend focusing on a project will determine how much you get accomplished. If you can't stay focused for very long, you'll never develop the skill to be successful. I can write for many hours a day. This allows me to write articles for my site as well as many guest posts. I rarely feel like I can't write. There are always fresh angles that I can tap into if I do some research, meditation, or take a walk. And I can edit for many hours, but it doesn't make me feel energized. I do it because it's part of my job. Strengths. Each skill that you have must produce quality results, otherwise it's not a strength. For example, almost anyone can write. In order for it to be considered a strength, it must be something that other people notice because your skill stands out. I write to change the world. That's exactly how I look at it. I'm good at it, and I expect to produce great results. Editing is not a skill that I've mastered yet, so it's tough for me to consider this a strength. It's more like an ability that I'm trying to mold into a superpower. Review. So, how do you find your superpowers? You have to figure out if the action in question meets all the criteria: passion, focus, and strength. Your passions come from your subconscious. Your focus is all about your ability to stay in the present moment, and your strengths are determined by the results you produce and the way others perceive those results. If you don't have all three when performing an action, passion, focus, and strength, then you aren't creating great results and feeling happy while doing it. You're just passing the time doing work that you aren't really connected with. This is why I created the Dig to Fly method. People came to me for advice because I could see through the fog to help them develop a clear picture. I couldn't avoid this superpower, so I decided to leverage it. We all have to learn to dig into our struggles, understand them, and find the diamonds that are hidden within us. When we dig deep, we learn to fly high. We don't let our thoughts and emotions bully us. You must learn to leverage your career superpowers, or you'll be missing out on major success. You just listened to the post titled, How to Discover Your Superpowers by Karl Staib of Dig2Fly.com. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. We all have non-negotiables. Maybe you never skip leg day or have to take your morning walks. But when your schedule is packed with kids' activities, big work projects, and more, it's easy to let your priorities slip. Even when we know what makes us happy, it's hard to make time for it. Therapy can help you reclaim control of your time and values. And make no mistake, therapy is for everyone. Whether or not you've been through significant trauma, therapy can be a great tool for setting boundaries, learning positive coping skills, and ultimately becoming the best version of yourself. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/workdaily today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/workdaily. We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites. One of the things I love about Indeed is that it filters out incompatible applicants. So when you're hiring, the process is much faster, and you only have to consider applicants that are already likely to be a great fit. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/startup. So just go to Indeed.com/startup right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/startup. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. And a big thank you to Karl for this post today. And let me tell you a little bit more about him. Karl helps entrepreneurs understand their struggles and then turn them into stepping stones. And he certainly knows something about that personally, because in 2010, he was diagnosed with testicular cancer and then was laid off from his job in 2011. And while those were, of course, really tough situations, he now calls them blessings in disguise, because since then, he's stopped doing work that doesn't fit with his passions and instead now focuses on things that he truly cares about. Karl is the author of the book Bring Gratitude and has a lot to offer on his site, which is dig2fly.com. I have that linked for you in this episode's description. And dig to fly, by the way, means dig deep to fly high, which was mentioned in this post. And Karl also has a podcast of his own, which you can find wherever you get your audio, and it is called the Dig to Fly Podcast. Okay, that's going to wrap up another episode of Optimal Work Daily. I thank you so much for being here, and be sure to do the same tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.